Hello and welcome to Katrina's Creations. This is our Wednesday episode, and today I am going to talk about spinning. I'm going to do a spinning demonstration. I am not a overly experienced spinner. I have been spinning for about 20 years. My spinning wheel is an Ashford Traditional, but I've never taken any classes on spinning or anything like that, so what I'm going to demonstrate is just the way I do it, which I believe is considered a short draft method. So let me tell you a little bit about the fiber that I'm going to be doing the spinning with. This is some fiber that I got from a swap with a viewer named Lucy Solar back in last August. She and I connected through the podcast Knitting by the Sea. And she put together a swap and paired you up with people. And so Lucy and I swapped boxes. And this is the fiber that I'm going to be spinning. And it is showing up pretty true to color. Although this, that's looking pretty good. This is a forest green. It's a lot of my favorite colors, which are kind of fall colors. It reminds me of the sweater that I just finished by Tin Can Knits that was done in a brown with this same forest green color. So it has kind of a reddish brown here, and then it goes to kind of a grayish mouse brown here, and then it goes to a darker chocolate brown, and then it even has black in it as well. So lots of colors. The fiber comes from a company called Yarn Fairy and the Pixies, and the colorway is New England Fire. Now, I'm not sure what the fiber content is. I know it has some wool in it, and it feels like merino, but the tag didn't say exactly what it was, which is pretty much, if you are a crocheter, it's a chain stitch. So you pull this, and it undoes. Now, these themselves are called rovings. You can see they are roughly as thick as my thumb. Now I could spin directly from the roving. I'm going to do a technique though called pre-drafting. In other words, I am going to take this, I'm going to separate it several times so that it's much, much thinner, more the thickness of a pencil or my pinky finger. And I'm going to stretch them out. Now, something to point out to you, wool is not all created equal. Sometimes there is some that has not been combed as well, and wool has microscopic barbs in it, and that's what causes it to feel scratchy or to irritate your skin. So in the case of rovings, it has gone through combs so that all of the fibers are in the same direction, so that when I pull these apart, you can see the fiber is all laying horizontal to each other. There's none going vertical. It's all horizontal. So that creates a smoother fiber. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how I do my pre-draft before I start the actual spinning. Now I've opened up all of the fiber so you can see it laying here, and you can see how thick the roving is. It's, like I said, about as thick as my thumb. And I'm going to work from one end to the other and pull it in half. By doing this way, I also am having my colors are going to match. I'm going to spin one section and then connect to the next section and spin from there. But if I was to do something like plying these two together, my colors would end up closer to each other rather than blending the different variegated colors. You have a matched set, pretty much, I guess is the easiest way to explain it. Now, this does have some straw and things still in it. It has been cleaned and dyed, but you do still end up with some, some straw and things like that in it. Splitting the fiber also helps where you have sections like this that are really saturated with color. It keeps them together. Even if I didn't ply these two particular strands of fiber together and spun them instead one and then the next one and just had a single ply all the way through, it just keeps your variegation even and matched so that it looks a little more balanced. I now have split this in half and I have two separate rovings that are identical to each other. So I can split this, as you can see, another time. So that roving will be split 4 times into 4 equal pieces. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to show me splitting it again, but it's the same process that I just did. It's just splitting it. The half that was split is now getting split again, so I'm having 4 out of 1 roving. So I've now split the roving into 4 fairly equal portions. The next step in the drafting is I'm going to just gently loosen the fibers, not pulling them all the way open. See if I can show this a little closer. But just gently pull them. If you pull too far, they will come apart. But I just want to kind of open them up. Like here, you can see I've kind of almost pulled it completely apart. The barbs that are in this, it will spin right back together again. That's the beauty of wool. It's easy to work with. And you just are going to spread these out to kind of make it even and just open the fibers up a little bit. And then when I get ready to spin, I will be spinning from this end and pulling from one end like this. So when I am ready to spin, I will be pulling from one end and I don't have to tug in order to pull the fibers and release them. So I'm just basically loosening up the fibers to make it a little bit easier. I now have gotten all of this pre-drafted, but before I started the actual spinning process, I wanted to discuss the length of fibers. So let me show you a little something. Now before I start the actual spinning process, I have pre-drafted one of the 4 divisions of the original roving that I started with, but I thought I would pull out a few strands of fiber so you could get a little bit of idea about the length. Different breeds of sheep or any animal that you're getting the wool from have different lengths of hair, or in this case, fleece. And you can see this is about 2 inches. So this is a relatively short fiber. It isn't crimped, which means it's not wavy. You can have some sheep that produce longer fiber. They have longer hair or longer fleece, and sometimes they have a crimp to it, sometimes they don't. Generally speaking, the longer the fiber, you can spin it at a slower rate. The shorter the fiber, you have to spin at a faster rate in order to incorporate the shorter lengths of the fiber that you're joining together. That's especially true if you're spinning cotton. You have to spin cotton because it does not have barbs in it that naturally hold it together. You have to spin cotton at a very fast rate in order for it to incorporate and hold together as a yarn. So this would be considered a relatively short fiber. It's a straight fiber. because, like I said, there's no crimp in it, and it's about 2 inches long. So let's go over to the spinning wheel and get it set up now. The spinning wheel that I have is an Ashford Traditional. It's also known as a Flax wheel. There are other types of spinning wheels. There are some that are electric, which actually sit on top of a table. There are walking wheels or grate wheels, which are, they do not have a foot pedal, and the wheel itself is very, very big, and the bobbin portion here doesn't exist. It's pretty much a nail, and you actually spin onto the nail. If you remember the story of Sleeping Beauty, that is the type of spinning wheel that she pricks her finger on. So let me explain the parts of the wheel and how it works. Of course, this is the wheel. This is the drive band that turns the bobbins. This portion here, this whole section, is known as the Maiden or the Maiden of all. I'm not sure why, but that's what it's called. There's 2 posts here and here, and they support a bar in between here that runs through the bobbin, and this is the bobbin, and this is the whirl, which is what the drive band goes around. And there's 2 different size wheels. They're all hooked together, but if I'm spinning faster, I can actually move the drive band to here. Or if I'm spinning at a moderate speed, I can use it on the larger one. The same applies to the bobbin itself. One side is a little smaller than the other. And from the bobbin, there is a break, and that's right here. And what that does, it runs over top. It runs over top of the bobbin, and it connects right here. And by tightening or loosening this little knob, it controls the spin here, because you don't want this bobbin spinning at the same rate that the wheel itself is spinning, or the yarn won't wind onto the bobbin. This portion here is called the flywheel. It has hooks on it, on this side and on this side, and those hooks serve a purpose as far as you can see right here. I've got the yarn going through here. As I fill up this portion, I would just simply move it to the next hook over. It's just for filling up the bobbin evenly. And there's one on each side, just so that you don't have to worry about which end you're spinning with. Coming up over top of these bands, you'll see it goes into there's a little hole right in here. And that hole comes out the other side of the Maiden. It goes through the whirl and it comes out the other side. And this is where I will feed the fiber into. So it gets fed from my hands through the orifice, which goes through here and goes up to the fly rod and onto the bobbin. So the drive band controls the spin around the wheel, and the pedal down below, right here, is controlled by a bar in the back. You can see it coming up right here. It's moving right here, and there's a crank, and this just pretty much just cranks the wheel and causes it to turn, which in turn turns everything else. Most spinning wheels work pretty much the same, but they're all designed a little bit different depending on the maker. So let's get started with spinning. We're looking down directly on top of the spinning wheel right now. This is the Maiden here. Here's one edge and the other is over on the other side out of the camera. This is the bobbin right here and the flywheel, and here you can see the little hooks. And I will move this over in just a minute, but I wanted to show how I'm going to attach the yarn. Here's the orifice here where the hole is that the fiber will come out of, that I will be feeding it into, and then it will go onto the bobbin here. So here you can see a closer picture of it. Here's the orifice, and this is the bobbin over here. So I have this hook, which will actually catch the yarn, and it goes through the orifice, and attached here on the edge of the bobbin, you will see some string right here. And there's a little bit of wool attached on the edge from my last spinning. This is called the leader, and I'm going to begin spinning and I will catch my fiber onto the old wool, and then I will get it started spinning onto the bobbin itself. So I have this hook inserted into the orifice, and I'm going to catch the leader and draw it through. And here you can see it here. I'm going to start the spinning wheel going, and I get a good twist. I'm going to get a good twist on this leader thread, and then I will catch the new fiber and start spinning with it. It's now caught here, and I'm going to be drawing this out a little bit just to let this twist that I've developed here spin up into this portion of the fiber to get it started. I now have the fiber established on the wheel over here. You can see it's beginning to load onto the bobbin right there. And I've adjusted my brake as I went, because the brake needs to be tight when you first start and then you loosen it up. And now I'm going to spin a little bit and let you watch from this angle, and then I'm going to change the camera angle so you can watch the whole process. So I'll get it started. I've changed the camera angle slightly so that you can watch what I am doing with my hands. I do a short draw, which means as this is twisting, I pull out a short distance, let go of the finger that is closest to the orifice, and let that twist move to my finger that is being held in the back where I'm pinching it. And then that feeds in, and then I slide forward a little bit more. The twist builds up, I release, and it moves to my back fingers which are pinched. So I'll demonstrate that.